and they have the committee, they always get this other auctioneer, and the guy just screws it up every time. He absolutely just screws it up. And I think it's almost out of spite.
Or he makes it about him. How about that?
He makes it about him. And it's almost like, well, no, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm the auctioneer, I've got the microphone.
That was a really, really great webinar, Jay. I appreciate it. You and I talk about this often. We love having folks on talking about folks in the nonprofit space, nonprofit professionals, talk about exactly what they did to achieve success, you know, and really, really strike, so to speak, at their events. We were talking to a couple of friends of ours, one from Rescuing Hope, Jesse from the Atlanta area, and then Terry from American Lung in your neck of the woods in Oklahoma. And they both were talking about how they went about selling multiple items. Lucky for us, it was, you know, they were our items, they were our consignment opportunities and auction items that we provided for their live auction. But they laid out this beautiful blueprint over an hour of how they went about selecting the right items, making sure the right people were in the room, getting feedback from their donors, their top donors, people who invest in their organization, and why their opinion matters, and communicating these things, and how they really did it. 9 items plus of one item in their live auction in each of their last events, respectfully. So that was really, it's just, I'm just still floored by it.
Well, I think, you know, in the part about that is, it's not the fact that they sold 9 items, it's the amount of money.
No, precisely, of course.
You know, like we're talking Jesse, they raised like $30,000 off of one item.
Yeah.
Net dollars to the organization. And had they not utilized that strategy, you know, maybe the item would have sold for a little bit more, but it would not have sold for $30,000 more. Not any which way how. And the other part was, now you've identified 9 donors who can buy something at that can pay $8,000 for something. I think it was 7,000, who could pay $7,000 for something. And it is an incredible opportunity that gets missed a lot.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
And, you know, that's what we always talk about. It's not about selling the items. I mean, that is what we do, but it benefits us as well. So I don't want to say that it does. I'm not going to be silly and go, well, yeah, it doesn't matter to us.
It does, but it's more of a missed opportunity when we witness it, when it doesn't work.
But the missed opportunity, because, you know, we get as excited or more excited when, you know, let's take, Scotty, we didn't talk about this on the webinar, but Scotty and Kevin have both done this, where they sold an item for $10,000 10 times. And the organization would net $50,000 off of one thing, one item, one opportunity, that had they not used this strategy, they might have only made 5 or 10,000. That is a big difference.
$50,000?
$50,000. Yeah. 50,000 net dollars to your organization. Yeah. That's, you're really starting to ring the bell. But here's the thing. And I one of the things I wanted to, you know, talk about this when we're doing the podcast today is the how. And I think this is really, really critical, is that we talk about the how, because it doesn't just happen. You know, we talked about, you know, Scotty Gibbs, world-class auctioneer. He said, you know, it's preparation is what is
364 days of prep, he said. I love that when he said that. Yeah.
We've got to prepare, that way we can avoid failure. And that's so true, is because if you do the things first, it's not like some super secret and let's get lucky. Yeah. That's not it at all. It is prepared. First of all, you know, you've got to have an auction. Well, number one, you got to have the right people in the room. Okay. You got to go through and have the people in the room that you can do this with. And then you've got to look at who your audience is, what's your fundraising goals, and match those things together. Because if you know, for example, there was a little event that I did one time, you know, several years ago. They only had about 75 people in the room. We sold an item that we sold it, and they sold it 6 times. They netted $6,000. Well, the previous year, they only raised $10,000 in the whole event period. And off of one thing, one item, they raised $6,000.
Yep. Awesome.
So makes a significant impact, even a small one. It certainly can. Not just, and it's all relative. And so you've got to keep those things in mind of bringing those things together. You know, who are our audience? What is their capacity? And then what can we match with that? Then the next thing that you got to do is you've got to have a professional with a microphone who's absolutely understands the program. Yeah. And the free auctioneers typically aren't the right ones.
Good call.
Professional auctioneer, that maybe they're a car auctioneer, and that doesn't mean that they can't do it, because there are some exceptions to this. This is not a thing against all auctioneers. It's just that most of them don't have this in a practical. Maybe they just donate their services 2 or 3 times a year, and they go up there. They're a great bid caller. Maybe they're a great cattle auctioneer, great car auctioneer, real estate, whatever. But they go up and they just don't quite understand it, because in their job, it's all about selling
one item for the most,
the highest, one item for the highest.
And just for the record, Jay, I'm
bid.
not trying to interrupt, but we're talking about taking a consignment opportunity, like what we offer, for instance, and that gives you the ability to sell it 10, 15, 20 times,
It may be even just 3 or 4. I mean, it's just, the whole idea is preparing that, but you've got to have somebody that understands how that works, and their job, and professional fundraising auctioneers. And I'm even going to narrow it down. Professional fundraising auctioneers that understand this
science,
science of this, this process, because there are some professional fundraising auctioneers that don't.
It's true.
And Trevor and I, we've got to work. It's like, we've got a client. So we have a client, very good client, does a lot of events, and she's got one event that she has to do, and they have the committee, they always get this other auctioneer, and the guy just screws it up every time. He absolutely just screws it up. And I think it's almost out of spite.
Or he makes it about him. How about that?
He makes it about him. And it's almost like, well, no, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm the auctioneer. I've got the microphone.
Yeah.
And gosh, whenever you get that kind of an attitude, well, this is what I do, this is how I do it, because then it's about them and not about your organization, your mission. And so I'm not trying to get off on a tangent, but I just want to say, you've really got to think about who the person is and do they understand these things? These are questions that you can ask. Have you ever sold consignment before? Have you ever sold multiples? Can you give me an example and who the organization was?
Yep.
And then you need to go call that organization and say, hey, Jason told me he did your event, and he sold this thing 10 times and you guys raised $25,000. How'd that go? And they can tell you about
vetting.
it.
Yeah,
but
it's good. It's good. It's worth your time. I'm digressing, but I mean, there was a trend, of course, with everyone that we, that gave feedback recently with us, or the feedback that we saw from events where they absolutely hit it out of the park and sold multiple items, in their live auction, but they had a great fundraising auctioneer, a great, high end.
Oh, we get to see events all over the country.
Yeah, I mean,
we literally get to see, because we work with clients all over the country, and we know which ones are good, and we know which ones, because sometimes we go, oh, he's going to be in this deal, this is going to be good, they're going to raise a lot of money.
Yeah,
we know because, one, they go in prepared. I got to tell a little bit about what Scotty does, but Scotty, Kevin, Jordan, the people we were talking about, and many of our other friends are the same way. They have a book. It is a preparation book it's theirs. They are the ones that prepare it and put it together and set up this run of show and have everything in it. That way they know that the mission, Scotty has a deal where he puts the mission at the very top of every page. Not just some pages, every page has a deal. That way it's always top of mind mission. Some of these guys, men and women, they come in, they go, yeah, I got this. And they got their little thing or their gimmick or their funny vest or whatever it is that they tend to do. And they think that it's about them, and it's not. It's about raising the amount of money. So, preparation being number one, having the right people in the room and understanding who those people are, having somebody who can execute. And here's the thing, or be open-minded to learning how.
For sure. Be coachable.
That's the other thing is, because we've talked to, we work with auctioneers all the time, and there's lots of great ones out there. And it sounds like I'm browbeating them, but I'm not. There's lots of great ones, and they'll go, yeah, tell me how this works. Because they'll pick us up. I get a phone call and they go, hey, they asked me to call you and tell me how this deal works. And I'll tell them. And they go out and they go, oh my gosh, they call me back and go, that was the coolest thing ever. I've never done anything like that. It's just, it took everything in my DNA to not do it, but I did it and it worked out great. And they raised,
you're talking about selling multiples. You're talking about taking an item
selling multiples,
that has a reserve price, for instance, of $3,000, and their intuition and, obviously their experience, they want to sell for $10,000. We're talking about taking an item that has a reserve price of $3,000 in the live auction, and we're talking about selling it for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in the live auction to a myriad of bidders, all interested parties. And there's a science to it, of course. It's not the most complicated thing. By the way, this is not a riddle, but there is an equation. And, while we're talking about that, we were talking about reserve price, for instance, I also noticed that with our audience from the webinar, talking about selling multiples, and these are folks that have experienced tremendous success. Yes, they had a great fundraising auctioneer that really, really knew what they were doing. Awesome. They had great items that, and you and I are always say, give folks what they want. It's like, give them stuff that they want to bid on, and they go out of their way.
Well, that's the third part of what we're talking about. We're saying, you got to prepare and make sure you got the right people in the room. You got to have somebody who can execute the plan. And then, finally, you got to have something that people want.
Yep.
And my point of that story before, it was a group of 75. It was 75 hunters.
Yeah.
We're selling shotguns, rifles, and hunting trips, fishing trips, all kinds of outdoor stuff. And then we pull out an all-inclusive trip to Cabo. And they weren't really sure. They thought, well, I don't know. This is a hunting deal. Well, guess what?
They like to go.
They like to go on vacations too.
Folks like to put their feet in the sand.
And it's, and so it's crazy, when you think about these things, how it works. But having an item, and that's where you can match those up. And it doesn't have to be just one. Maybe it's 2 or 3 that you put in there, and it all depends on the event. And that's what we talk about, solutions.
Yeah.
We deal in solutions. Whether it's the Caribbean Craze, the Golden Ticket, the vacation station.
I did notice some feedback, and I want to deliver this feedback as well. A few things. Yes, being very deliberate about what items you choose. I just said folks like, even hunters like to have their feet in the sand. Most folks do. We're noticing some very, very serious patterns, trends, all the above, where folks like to travel abroad. Jesse, our guest from Rescue and Hope, said folks like options. So we put together an item for them where it gave the winning donors 4 different destination options. She also mentioned, and she's right, I'm just piggybacking on her thought though, because we see it in real time, with all the events that we're in across the country, folks like traveling in groups. So we provided them items that were available for 4 people or more, for instance, with other items as well. So folks do really like traveling together, 2 couples, a family, what have you.
Bro, I just got back from Europe, what was it, 6 weeks ago? We spent 2 weeks over there going and seeing some of our partners and looking at properties and things like that. I saw more, it was all couples working, traveling together.
Yeah.
There was quite a few groups and families and things like that, but there were a lot of couples. And we would talk to them. So what did you guys do? Oh, we were doing this. We decided we'd all go together. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun and that's where we see this trend growing. And
we're also like that too, though, man. It's weird for you. It's weird for you and I to not travel together with our wives. That's weird for us.
Yeah, we do it all the time.
So, I mean, we're not outliers.
I also think when we're talking about, this thing, I want to give you a couple of scenarios, and especially for somebody that's listening to this and they go, well, I'm not really sure on the consignment deal because, we've got to pay the fee. If you're looking at donation versus consignment and you're looking at just selling it one time, there is no comparison.
Absolutely not.
A donated item
they coexist
is going to be better.
Sure.
No, I'm just saying donated is going to be better because if you're, if it's something that you sell for $5,000 and the consignment, you got to pay $2,500, to buy it and sell it for $5,000. Obviously, those two things aren't the same. $5,000 that you get all the money is better, but those are hard to find. They're hard to procure, and it's definitely you can't sell it more than once. But if you use the strategy we're talking about, where you're selling the $2,500 and it sells for $5,000 and it sells for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times or 10 times.
Now we're talking about
you're talking about significant money. Then it goes from making $5,000 versus $25,000
net. Yeah,
net dollars to your organization, to your mission. That's where things get really. And this is not gigantic big galas. I think that's the other thing. Somebody goes, well, I just don't think my event's big enough. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be that big if you do the strategy right and if you marry the correct items to who your audience is, who your donor base is.
Let's get into that strategy a little bit more. Look, I'm going to preface it though with, we know how difficult it is to find, like you said, it's really hard to find great donation items that can sell for $5,000 that will get bidders out of their seats, so to speak, excited to leverage their giving budget with their, for instance, travel budget or experience budget and be motivated and inspired to give at that level. Those are very difficult things to find. We're noticing increasingly more so that it's more difficult to find. So,
well, can we touch on why that is real quick? I think this is something that would be real clarifying to a lot of people.
Yeah, please.
There's a couple of reasons. Number one, short-term vacation rentals. Okay. If you've got a property and you put it under contract with one of those deals, you want to make money on it. And so it's kind of like set it and forget it. I don't need to think about it.
Yep.
Two, I had a guy tell me one time, he goes, Jason, he goes, I got my place out in Santa Fe. And he said, I used to, put it out there for people to do it. But he goes, then I found I was a full-time, I'm working for the organization full-time because I'm having to jockey my schedule, change my stuff around to get these people booked. Because I donated it. I wanted them to use it. But then he goes, I just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Then I got to worry about somebody else is in my house. What are they going to do? I've got to take, it becomes an inconvenience for me. And I bought it for me to go.
Yeah.
And it's not that the guy's being selfish. He goes, I'd rather write him a check.
Sure.
And I think that's where, where somebody's got a timeshare, because then it gets really complicated.
Yeah.
Because now you've only got a certain time that you can do it.
Yeah.
Our stuff, there's no blackout dates.
Yeah.
Now there are times you may have to upgrade it if it's during spring break and it's a beach trip to the Caribbean. Yeah, there's going to be a change, but that's just the way it is. But I guess what I'm saying is, it's not the same as what it was, and there's a lot more demand.
Yeah.
We're seeing more and more events every year, not less.
No
It's
joke.
expanding.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're not saying like those timeshares and vacation homes that folks, that donors of yours were donating, for instance, to be an auction have completely dried up, but it's been noticeable. So there's a big scarcity issue there, right? And then in comes these great opportunities, where once again, if you're deliberate about it, if you have conversations with your donors and you figure out what they need, you really, really need to know, based on past data and just having conversations with folks about what they want. They want to travel abroad, for instance. Maybe they want to travel to Europe and they want a beach destination. Then you can take, all comers. And now with the beauty of these opportunities, these auction items like the ones that we offer, you're able to have your fundraising professional stand up in the live auction and sell it, like we say, 4, 6, 8, 10 times. We've seen them sell for up to 36 times. That's lightning in a bottle. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's not always going to happen. But like Jason said, if you use this equation and you're deliberate about it and you communicate, to your auctioneer and to your committee what you're going to do with it, it will work. That's the beauty of it.
Well, here's something I want to suggest that people just try.
Yeah.
Here's just a great way just to try something like this.
Sure.
Because, I'm not much into telling people to be risky about your event. You need to raise money. You want to do things right. But if you want to try something, you can take a risk. Okay. And there's no risk in this when I say it, but let's say that you've got 7 or 8 items that you have that are donated. That's awesome. Okay. You're going to auction those off. Take one thing that's a consignment piece. Just one. Typically I would say like a beach trip, like an all-inclusive Caribbean, something to Cabo, Puerto Vallarta, something like this. Take that one trip, be your tail end Charlie, your last item in the auction, and just say, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting a really cool thing here. We're going to auction this off. We've even had auctioneers, and I've done this in the past, where you say, you know what, who here would be willing to take this for $2,000? How many of you keep your hand up at $2,600, $2,700, $2,800, whatever? And they keep their hand up, and you say, okay, I tell you what, we're just selling to everybody. And then all of a sudden, everybody they start clapping. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people just have their hands up. That's $25,000. Everybody goes crazy. The room gets excited. And then all of a sudden you sell it 12, 13, 14 times.
That's awesome.
And we used to always say 6 to 8. We were very conservative when we talk about this, like a Caribbean craze, which is what I just talked about. We'd say 6 to 8 times. And Trevor, you and I both know all of a sudden it's happening 8, 9. They're selling 8, 9, 10 times.
Yeah.
But this is a great strategy you can try. Doesn't cost you anything to try it.
No.
Takes 3 minutes of your auctioneer's time.
That's the cool
and
part.
You could really get some great feedback, great opportunity, identify some new donors, because there are people that will not give you $1,000 in your fund to need, but they'll pay $2,500 to go on a great trip.
True story. They're leveraging their giving budget with their travel budget. I remember when you told me that years ago. I thought it was amazing. Another, really, really cool, piece of, not advice, but just hear us out for a sec. Folks, these donors, these supporters that are coming to your event, whether you've actually met them or not, as a matter of fact, because you're identifying new donors a lot of times when you're able to provide great auction items, they are buying these experiences on hotels.com, Expedia, Airbnb, VRBO. They're already engaged. They're already traveling. I've said this 100 times if I've said it once. We'd like to see them buy the item from you, but you need to give them the opportunity to do so. So you don't necessarily need our experiences, but you need good experiences, sound experiences that will work, that will be a great a great reflection on your organization. The donors will get taken care of. Obviously, they're going to experience joy because they're traveling. Just while we're on it, that does bring people a lot of joy. They also remember where they got it from. And if they get it from your organization, there's always going to be that connection. I think that's huge. Maybe it's overlooked too much. Maybe it's not, don't know. Once again, your donors and supporters, folks with the capacity to travel abroad, and folks are traveling abroad in record numbers, are already buying these items. They're already being purchased.
Oh yeah.
They're doing it on their phone. We'd rather see them do it with you if you give them the opportunity to do it at your event. I just think it's huge. Yeah. Huge opportunity. Cool. Yeah. And you don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that good?
Thanks, bro. That's good. I think that's good stuff.
Okay. Awesome. That feels good. Hey, thanks, man. Awesome. I hope everybody, and if you need anything or any questions about that, we're here. We do coaching sessions, free coaching sessions. You can reach out to us. You can go to our website. If you have any questions about, hey, listen, I've never done this before. I just want to know a little bit more. Obviously, we have a ton of episodes and webinars out there, and we explain it. But if you want to talk to one of us about it, we're happy to do it. Just go to hjfundraising.com, click on the free coaching button. We'll spend a half hour or more with you, just talking about how you could utilize it. No pressure, no agenda, and we'll talk about it. So I hope that helps.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you love our podcast, click the download button, rate us, and follow us on social media at HGA Fundraising. Get out there, start fundraising, and raise more money. See you next time.